You don't get promoted into senior roles through hard work, experience, or qualifications. You get promoted by a handful of small behaviors that signal that you're ready to think like a leader. After years of sitting in boardrooms where multi-million dollar decisions are made, I noticed that the executives that I work with all share the same few habits that are never actually taught to professionals. Yeah, they're quietly responsible for how they reach such senior roles. In this video, I'll break down those habits and I'll show you how you can apply them immediately to start unlocking bigger opportunities. Right, so habit one. Now, a big problem that professionals face as they move up is that they keep getting pulled into more and more meetings. And if you're not careful, your productivity drops fast because you're spending all day sitting around a table instead of actually doing a job. And when that happens, you won't be able to build credibility with leaders, and so you're going to miss opportunities to move up. Now, this is why senior professionals protect their time more than anything else. So, habit one is simple. You have to cancel meetings. But this can be uncomfortable, especially if you're not the one who started a meeting or you don't feel senior enough to actually push back. So let me show you how a senior professional does it without feeling awkward and in a way that's actually going to build your credibility. So the shift I want you to make is to stop defending your time and instead defend your outcomes. When someone blocks your calendar, you don't just say that you haven't got time to attend, you explain that you're working on something of a higher priority right now. And if they still think that you're critical to the meeting and need to attend, then ask them to move it around your availability. Or what I like to do is I invite them to go talk to the VP and check if he's happy to miss deadlines so that I can attend your meeting. To this day, no one's ever taken me up on that offer. Senior leaders don't protect their time, they protect the outcomes that they're accountable for. Right, habit number two, and honestly, this was the biggest shift for me, even though it's almost stupidly small, and you can do this thing immediately. So for a long time, I lived off long to-do lists. Everything I did, I had written down, and it was prioritized, and I thought that this meant that I looked like I was organized and on top of everything. But what I didn't realize was, it was actually holding me back. You see, to-do lists will keep you focused on actions, but when you're trying to move up into more senior roles, you need to make the shift from focusing on effort to focusing on outcomes. But by constantly working through a list of tasks, you're keeping yourself in the operator level of thinking. You're busy every day, but you're not giving yourself the time to step back, see the bigger picture, or understand why any of the work actually matters in the first place. So habit number two is to ditch the to-do list and instead replace it with a goal list. So instead of writing down individual tasks, what you do is write down the priorities that your department has and the results that you're responsible for. Then underneath that, list the initiatives that you're going to drive to make those outcomes happen. Senior leaders don't work off to-do lists, they work off outcomes. Now, habit number three, and this one feels uncomfortable at first because it goes against how many professionals are taught to work. But if you can do this, you're going to start being seen differently by senior leaders, which is going to raise your credibility. So earlier in my career, I used to default to emails all the time. If I needed clarification or alignment or a decision, I'd write it all down in an email, explain the context, ask questions, send it out, and then just wait. And usually what came back 1 or 2 days later was confusion, a half answer, or just more emails that created even more work. But what I notice about senior leaders is they don't do this. They never use emails to move things forward. They only use emails to confirm things that have already been aligned. If something's unclear or if there's friction or a decision needs to be made, they just pick up the phone or they walk over and talk to the person. 5 minutes of conversation completely replaces days of back and forth. That one behavior will change everything. Questions get answered immediately, priorities get clarified, and you build a lot of momentum. So habit three is to stop defaulting to email. Use it to document decisions, not to figure them out. Senior leaders don't hide behind inboxes, they move things forward in real time. Now, habit number four is something that is subtle, but it will change how senior people read you almost instantly. So early in my career, if I was asked a question that I hadn't fully thought through, my instinct was to either answer it anyway or start explaining all the context that I had. And I thought that showing effort and knowledge was the correct thing to do here, rather than feel exposed having not got the right answer to anything. What I noticed with senior leaders was the opposite. They're completely comfortable saying, I don't know yet, and then they would follow that immediately by what they do know and what they'll do next. Instead of guessing, they frame the uncertainty. They'll say things like, I don't have the answer right now, but here's what we're seeing, here's the risk, here's how I'd propose we move forward. And this does two things. Firstly, it shows judgment and it shows control. So habit 4 is to stop filling silence with information. If you don't have the answer, just say so. Then anchor the conversation with direction. Senior leaders aren't expected to know everything, they're expected to know how to move things forward. So habit number 5. Now, my notebooks previously were just full of doodles, half sentences, and a bunch of chicken scratch. I was technically taking notes, but none of it was usable. I couldn't refer back to decisions, track actions, or connect conversations over time. What I noticed with senior leaders was different though. They always had a notebook, and more importantly, they had a system to keep notes. Every meeting fed into it. The decisions, priorities, follow-ups, and all open questions, they had a system to document it correctly. So habit number 5 is to get yourself a note-taking system. Now, I have a device called a Remarkable. You don't need one of these, but any notebook will do as long as you've actually got a system to organize it. Because when you write everything down properly, you stop relying on your memory. You start operating with more clarity. And this is going to show that you're on top of the bigger picture, because senior leaders don't take notes to remember, they take notes to run things. Now, if you've got the habit of using McKinsey-style templates or fancy slide decks, then you're making a mistake that's going to cost you opportunities and ruin your credibility with senior leaders. To understand why and what you should do instead, then you should go watch this video next.